Hello there, this is Galaxy Television News, our top stories. President Buhari asked the Senate to amend certain provisions of the controversial Petroleum Industry Act, PIA. EFCC Chairman Abdulrasheed Bawa appears in court to testify as a prosecution witness in an alleged 1.4 billion naira oil subsidy fraud case. And on our international scene, Sudan thwarts an attempted military coup and arrested all those involved. The coup plotters were linked to the ousted President Omar al-Bashir, who was toppled 2 years ago. Those are headlines. Details coming up shortly. Thanks for joining us on Galaxy Television News for this time. I'm Solomon Offem. President Muhammadu Buhari has written the Senate seeking an amendment to the recently signed Petroleum Industry Act, PIA. In the letter to the Senate, Buhari wants an amendment to the new act to allow for the removal of the ministers of petroleum and finance from the boards of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and the Upstream Regulatory Commission. President Buhari is also seeking for the amendment to allow the non-executive members to be increased from 2 to 6 for equitable representation of all geopolitical zones.
PIA 2021. I wish to forward to the Senate the attached administrative structure amendments of the Petroleum Industry Act PIA 2021 for your kind consideration and approval, please. Having carefully reviewed the administrative structure of both the Commission and the authority, I would like to propose the following amendments to the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. A. Appointment of non-executive board members. The Petroleum Industry Act 2021 provided for the appointment of 2 non-executive members for the board of the 2 regulatory institutions.
Buhari is also seeking Senate's confirmation of nominees for the position of chairman and members of the board of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and the Upstream Regulatory Commission.
Letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, appointment of the chairman, chief executive, and executive commissioners for the board. In accordance with the provision of Section 11, subsection 3 of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, I hereby forward for confirmation by the Senate the underlisted nominees as board members for the Upstream Regulatory Commission.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has received a correspondence from President Muhammadu Buhari to amend the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. Speaker of the House, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, read out Mr. President's letter at resumption of plenary on Tuesday. In the letter, President Muhammadu Buhari sought the appointment of non-executive board members, removal of the Ministries of Finance and Petroleum from the 2 institutions, and appointment of executive directors.
Having carefully reviewed the administrative structure of both the Commission and the authority, I would like to propose the following amendments to the PIA. And it goes on the subheads of those amendments: appointment of non-executive board members, and second is the removal of the removal of the Ministries of Petroleum and Finance from the board of the 2 institutions. And the third amendment is the appointment of executive directors. So we have the appointment of non-executive board members, appointment of executive directors, and removal of the Ministries of Petroleum and Finance from the board of the 2 institutions. The details are contained in the 3-page letter, which will be referred to the appropriate committee.
The House, in another development, urged the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning to give consideration to education in the subsequent budgetary allocations in order to attain the UNESCO projection by 2030. The appeal came after deliberation and a motion sponsored by the member representing Oshodi Solo Federal Constituency 2, Lagos State, Honorable Ganiyu Johnson. Honorable Johnson had expressed worry over performance of the Nigeria's education system, which he said had been on decline in the last decade.
That the Nigerian education system within the last decade has been on a steady decline, ranging from influx of illegal institutions of learning, as well as unqualified teachers in the system, to poor funding, overcrowding, and plethora of decaying infrastructure in schools across the.
In the same vein, President Muhammadu Buhari has written the Senate to confirm appointments of the Secretary and board members of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Chairman, Chief Executive and Executive Commissioners for the Upstream Regulatory Commission, and Chairman, Chief Executive and Executive Directors for the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Nominees for the EFCC board are George Abang Okpengu, Secretary to the Commission, Cross River State, Lukman Mohammed from Edo, Numba Adeze from Enugu, Alhaji Kola Rahim Adeshino Kwara, and Alhaji Yahya Muhammad Yobe. For the Upstream Regulatory Commission, Isa Ibrahim Modibo is nominated as Chairman, Engineer Benga Komolafe, Chief Executive, Hassan Gambu, Executive Commissioner, Finance and Account, and Ms. Rose C. Ndong, Executive Commissioner, Exploration and Acreage Management. A chairman nominee of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority is Idare Gogo Ogan, Engineer Saraki Awalu, Chief Executive Abiodun A. Adeniji, Executive Director Finance and Accounts, and Ogbugo Okuho, Executive Director, Distribution Systems, Storage and Retail Infrastructure. President Muhammadu Buhari has received a briefing on Nigeria's participation in the ongoing United Nations General Assembly in New York. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Nyama, who led other government officials to the briefing, said it was based on the president's engagement. The minister said the president's interactions will center on bilateral relations, good governance, and other matters that will improve Nigeria's relations with other countries.
The main event, as you know, is the general debate. And this is where all the presidents address the world. And Mr. President is going to be addressing the world. And so what we'll see from this is Nigeria's vision, Mr. President's global vision, and then on key issues of priority. So, you know, things like development, where we are with that, with climate change, with security, with women empowerment, what we're doing in support of that.
The President and members of this delegation will partake in other significant meetings, such as the high-level meeting to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the adoption of the Durban Declaration and Program of Action on the theme Reparations, Racial Justice and Equality for People of African Descent, Food Systems Summit, high-level dialogue on energy, and high-level plenary meeting to commemorate and promote the International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons. It will also hold bilateral meetings with a number of other leaders of delegations and heads of international development organizations. The theme for this year's UNGA is Building Resilience Through Hope to recover from COVID-19, rebuild sustainably, response to the needs of the planet, respect the rights of people, and revitalize the United Nations. President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, on his re-emergence after a hard-fought snap election. President Buhari said on behalf of his family, the government and people of Nigeria, he congratulated a true friend of Nigeria and Africa following his well-deserved re-election as Prime Minister. A statement from the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity said the President looks forward to working with the Prime Minister to further strengthen the existing cordial bilateral relations between Nigeria and Canada. The federal government says it is criminal to get COVID-19 vaccination cards without having been vaccinated. This position was stressed Tuesday in Abuja during the weekly briefing on the state of vaccination in the country. Galaxy's Godfrey Ishimugu completes the story.
This is the weekly briefing on the extent of progress made in the country on aspects of vaccination. At the time of the briefing, only a little over 4 million have so far been vaccinated. Vaccine hesitancy due to misinformation have been largely responsible for the low acceptance, with many Nigerians now outsmarting the system to get the vaccination cards without having been vaccinated. Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shoaib, says it is now criminal.
Possession of vaccination cards without receiving the vaccine is criminal and punishable by the law. The NPHCDA is collaborating with the state security, the ICPC, and other law enforcement agencies to investigate and prosecute any persons and their accomplices attempting to fraudulently acquire COVID-19 vaccination cards without getting vaccinated.
The FCT Primary Health Care Board says it is on top of the situation with respect to bringing to book the staff that are involved in the alleged racketeering.
The investigation is on. The FCT administration has not let down this matter. We are on top of the matter, and we have not only identified the teams, we have identified the team members, and we have also located those responsible for issuing cards and scanning the QR. So with this solid information in our fingertips, we have to locate the extent of involvement. It may be a syndicate, it may be just an individual that is doing all this, but we have got to be sure that there are no other people involved. We step into partnership, not just for quality, but for transparency and accountability.
Dr. Faisal Shoaib said, contrary to media reports, the British government has not blacklisted vaccination of Nigerians.
The UK government have also stated that they have no issues with the vaccines being used in Nigeria. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, also known as Covishield, that is used in Nigeria, was approved by the UK regulatory body, MHRA, and other stringent regulatory board authorities and the World Health Organization. So the UK government does recognize the vaccines being used in Nigeria.
The NPHCDA boss said the UK government has given assurances that Nigeria will not be in the red list due to significant progress made in getting Nigerians vaccinated. Godfrey Ishimugu, Galaxy News, Abuja.
If you're just tuning in, this is Galaxy Television News. When we come back from our break, EFCC Chairman Abdulrasheed Bawa appears in court to testify as a prosecution witness in an alleged 1.4 billion naira oil subsidy fraud case. We'll bring you details of that when Galaxy Television News returns. Don't go away. It is good to have you back. This is Galaxy Television News. For more updates and latest news, visit our website, galaxytvonline.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Galaxy TV Nigeria. You can follow and interact with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Galaxy TV. Don't forget to follow and tag us on our Instagram page at official Galaxy TV. You can also avail our eyewitness feature via WhatsApp. If you have breaking news around you, simply share your story by sending short clips or videos of the news on 0818-6666-669. Our social media platforms are user-friendly. You can always accommodate your live updates and comments. And now to court matters. The High Court of Abuja State Abia State on Tuesday adjourned the hearing of the case involving the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, till October 7, 2021. The vacation judge, Justice KCJ Okereke, took the decision as the federal government of Nigeria and 5 other respondents in the case have yet to file their responses to the suit brought before the court by Kanu, challenging the alleged infringement of his fundamental right by the federal government. And the suit respondents include the federal government of Nigeria, Attorney General of the Federation, Chief of Armed Staff, Inspector General of Police, Director General, State Security Services, and 3 others. According to a report, Kanu, through his lawyer, Aloy Ejimako, on September 7, asked the court to award him 5 billion naira as damages for the breach of his fundamental human rights, which began with the 2017 extrajudicial attempt on his life in Abia, his involuntary flight to safety and exile, his abduction in Kenya, and his extradition to Nigeria. He had prayed the courts to declare that his arrest, torture, and detention were unconstitutional. He had also prayed the court to declare that his expulsion from Kenya to Nigeria, as well as the military invasion of his building in Abia in 2017, were illegal and unlawful. The IPOB leader had secured an order from the courts to serve as substituted means and application for enforcement of his fundamental right. The Supreme Court has fixed 1st of November for hearing of a suit bordering on a dispute between Rivers and Imo State over 17 oil wells. The Apex Court had on 17 July granted an order of injunction stopping the federal government and its agencies from seeding the 17 disputed oil wells located at Akri and Mbede to Imo State. The Rivers State government, through its Attorney General, had dragged the Attorney General of the Federation and the Attorney General of Imo State before the Supreme Court over the disputed oil wells. It also sought a declaration that all the oil wells within Akri and Mbede communities are wrongly attributed to Imo State and that they are all oil wells within the territory of Rivers State and formed parts of Rivers State. Galaxy's Godfrey Shemugo reported that a 5-member panel headed by Justice Kudirat Kekiriakun took the pending applications, including a motion of preliminary objection by Imo State challenging the jurisdiction of the Apex Court to hear the matter.
The second defendant also had a motion to regularize the application they have filed. Specifically, they had filed a notice of preliminary objection challenging the jurisdiction of the court. And on the part of the second defendant, they had also filed their statement of defense, which was regularized this afternoon. They have raised an objection to whether the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court can be invoked, taking into consideration the facts of the case. To them, they are of the view that it's a matter that relates to some of the agencies of the federal government, and as such should go to the Federal High Court.
We hold the view that the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, original jurisdiction, is not in relation to complaints about actions, decisions, or activities of agencies of the federal government. They hold a contrary view. We are sure that by the time we come back on the return date, the Supreme Court will do justice to that issue, which has to do with the jurisdiction.
Still on court matters, Chairman of Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC Abdulrasheed Bawa today appeared before an Ikeja High Court headed by Justice Sedo Tomsosi Ogunsoya to testify as a prosecution witness in an alleged 1.4 billion naira oil subsidy fraud case. Bawa, who was in court today to testify in the case involving Nadabo Energy and its chairman, Abubakar Peters, one of the cases of alleged fraud that he investigated when he was an operative of the EFCC. Galaxy's Daniel Tenimo reports that the anti-graft agency is prosecuting the defendant for allegedly obtaining 1.4 billion naira from the federal government as oil subsidy using forged documents. According to sources, the defendants are also being accused of inflating the quantity of petrol purportedly supplied to the federal government. The commission findings shows that accused claims of importing 6.8 million litres of premium motor spirit PMS was false.
See, we are in court. It's subjudice for somebody to talk about a matter that is in court. But looking at the charges that we have, it's a matter that we brought here since 2015. It's a petroleum subsidy fraud case, and from our findings, we believe that the defendant falsified the volume he imported into the country. He is claiming to have imported about 6.8 million liters of PMS, while our investigation is revealing that he imported about 8 million liters of PMS. That's why we're in court. And the matter could not go on today because counsel to the defendants are not in court, but tomorrow will continue, God willing, by 9 a.m.
Due to failure of the counsel to the defendants to appear in court, the case was adjourned to 22 of September 2021 for further hearing. The coalition of southern governors waxes stronger as Lagos State signed the anti-open grazing bill into law. Let us take a look at what this new development might spell out for Lagos State. The report.
The anti-open grazing bill emerged due to incidents of trespassing, murder, rape, destruction of properties that were perpetrated by some herdsmen as they freely roam with their cattle. This has made many communities live in fear, especially farmers who are unable to go to their farms, and that has impacted the economy negatively.
And then herdsmen have always existed even before now, but these ones are violent, these ones carry AK-47, these ones kill, they maim, they rape, and they create crisis anywhere they find themselves. So they are now saying, what do we do as state governors who are in charge of security to nip this in the bud? And the best method is to allow open grazing law to be enacted in order to outlaw that will create crisis, and then encourage ranching. And ranching is the best form of husbandry, which all other nations have actually deployed, in that regard.
With Lagos State signing the anti-open grazing bill into law, long-lasting peace and order is expected to reign if the government strictly enforce the law and sanction the defaulters.
So it's for the state now to put machinery in place for enforcement. Enforcement is key. It's a component part of enactment. If having enacted a law, you must also look towards enforcement. Now you put structure in place to enforce your laws. So my take is, I think that the Lagos State government shouldn't be a layback. They would have actually put in place the structure for enforcement and ensure that this law is obeyed, because one thing is to make law, another thing is for that law to be obeyed and enforced. So if there is any contravention of the law, those who contravene the law should be adequately prosecuted. That's the way to go.
Iribami Salako, Galaxy TV News, Lagos.
A bill for a law prohibiting open grazing, indiscriminate breeding, rearing and marketing of livestock in Delta State, that anti-grazing bill has been passed by the State House of Assembly. The bill was passed following a motion to what effect to that effect by the majority leader of the House, Honorable Ferguson Onwo, and adopted during the Tuesday's resumed plenary of the state legislature, presided over by the Speaker, Right Honorable Sheriff Obovori. The Chairman, House Committee on Special Bills, Honorable Pat Ajudwa, had presented the report on the bill on the floor of the House, which was received and adopted, where she disclosed that input of stakeholders formed part of the proposed law. The bill will eventually sign into law prohibits the carrying of firearms, either licensed or otherwise, by residents or individuals in the state, just as it seeks to address the arbitrary rearing and movement of livestock in the state. Some retired Nigerian police officers gathered in front of the National Assembly, Abuja, to protest the contributory pension scheme. The retired officers stormed the National Assembly to drive home their demands for improved retirement benefits. Part of the request is that the Nigerian police force be withdrawn from the contributory pension scheme, just as their counterparts in the army and other sister security agencies. According to them, after 35 years of dedicated service to the nation, the monthly take-home of a retired officer under the said scheme is very poor. They also stated that the pension scheme is not only affecting retired officers negatively, but also other civil servants who are retired. Meanwhile, in a related development, a bill for an act to amend the Pension Reform Act 2014 to provide for the exemption of the Nigerian Police Force from the contributory pension scheme and for related matters, sponsored by Rep. Francis Wave, held second reading on the floor of the House of Representatives. Lawmakers who spoke in support of the bill decried the situation whereby retired officers on the contributory pension scheme were being made to suffer after 35 years of service to their fatherland.
In other climes where there's a contributory pension scheme, like in Chile, for example, the police force, just like other military forces, are not part of the contributory pension scheme. I want to plead, honorable colleagues, that you support this exception, because the duties performed by the police, especially at this time of security challenges in our country, are enormous.
That's one woman that even said she has dependent. Her old mother, her old father, they're still alive, but they're not even valuing her, because you say, why do you go to the police? Why do you serve this country 35 years? You cannot even help us to eat food after your service. The reason why is contributory pension scheme.
Deputy Superintendent of Police will be getting 1.5 million naira as pension, and his counterpart in army, like a captain, will be getting 12.8 million naira in the same country. It's unacceptable.
A pension that is higher in quantum to the police than mutatis mutandis. Those privileges that is enjoyed by the military should be enjoyed by the police.
A 39-year-old man, Oladakwa Akinola, has been arrested by the police in Ogun State for raping his 5-year-old stepdaughter. Oladakwa was arrested following a report lodged at the Adigbe Divisional Headquarters by the girl's mother, who complained that while bathing her daughter, she discovered traces of blood in a private part. And when she inquired, she was informed that her husband, who happened to be the girl's stepfather, defiled her. The police public relations officer for the state, Abimbola Oyeyemi, made this name in a statement on Tuesday. The suspect, who resides at Adewale Drive, Shokori, Abeokuta, confessed to the crime without any justifiable reason. The Commissioner of Police, Edward Ajogun, has ordered the immediate transfer of the suspects to Anti-Human Trafficking and Child Labor Unit of the State Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department for further investigation and diligent prosecution. He warned parents, especially mothers, to always be watchful of their female children and protect them from sexual assault. Operatives of Operation DOO Akpo, in collaboration with the vigilante members of Ogobiri community in Sagbama local government area of Bayelsa State have arrested a suspected ritualist. The suspected ritualist, one Sunday Favor Ojo, who hails from Edo State, was arrested today at about 11 a.m. at Ogobiri Torebeni Drive in Sagbama local government area. The suspect, according to the police, lured his victim, one Deborah Emafridom, a student of Niger Delta University, to a nearby bush, tied her hands and was about to slit her throat when he was apprehended by the vigilante members and police operatives. The Commissioner of Police, Bayelsa State Command CP Echeng, commended the vigilante members for their role in the arrest and appeals to members of the public to continue to volunteer useful information to the police and other security agencies. Still on security, 3 suspected ritualists have been arrested with human parts of a 73-year-old man named Davisi Samuel by the Oyo State Command of Amotekun. The suspects, who were identified as Muhyiddin Abdurrashid Olariwaju and Ismail Morena, were arrested around Boluwaji area of Ibadan after burying the body of Olani, which had already been butchered by the suspect in a shallow grave. Correspondent Kunle Ojo, one of the suspects, Muhyiddin, 27-year-old, said his landlady had discovered the dead body at one side of a compound, after which she raised an alarm. He added that one of the suspects, Abdurrashid Olariwaju, had paid a sum of 35,000 naira to Ismail Morena to help him get a human head from money ritual. Muhyiddin disclosed that they had to deploy diabolic means to capture their victim, claiming that the victim was a madman who was roaming the street. This was Alfa Salam that contacted him that one Abdurrashid Olariwaju needed a human head for a ritual. Abdurrashid Olariwaju and Ismail Morena, other 2 suspects, who was also confessed to the crime, said they assisted Muhyiddin in slaughtering their victim.
So mother ṣàlàyé fún mi ìgbà tí wọ́n ṣàlàyé fún mi tán okay mother ni àwọn ti fún Ifá kan ní owó ìpè láti bá wọn ṣiṣẹ́ ìpè bọ̀ tí bá mọ̀ bí tí mo ti lè rí kíní yìí ráṣù orí èèyàn.
I was contacted by Moreno to give him a head at the cost of 35,000 naira, which I obliged him. I used to speak to my victims with charms. I met the madman and used the charms on him. We killed him and cut his head, which I brought to my customers. The cat was let out of the bag when my landlady suspected the grave at my backyard.
So bàbá tó wà ń bọ̀lẹ̀ tán lọ bí wọ́n ṣe so báyìí ló ní òun tó máa ń gẹ̀tẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ torí nǹkan ti wọ èmi ní ọrùn èmi náà ń wá gan.
It was through him I wanted to make money ritual, but the herbalist said I should look for human head. I contacted Moreno and he agreed to help me. He gave me the human head, which we have burnt. I was later arrested after I was caught by the Amotekun Corps. My father told me that Muhyiddin called him to come and collect a certain amount of money and promised to return to my place later. Since Sunday, we couldn't locate his whereabouts. Even other members of the family were of the view that he was in my house. We were surprised today when we learned an old man was killed. When we checked, it was my father.
We had a report about those who are doing ritual yesterday evening. We started the investigation. We arrested the first suspect in his house. He moved forward with the remaining people and we arrested 3 of them. They confirmed that they apprehend one man from Akara Amuloko Road. They cut his head. They give the head to the person who sponsored them to get the head for him. They burn the head. We arrest the person who need the head. 3 of them, they collide together and cut his head by themselves.
Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaki, leader of Islamic movement in Nigeria, has told his members that no sacrifice is too big when it comes to the things of God. He stated this at a reunion meeting when he and his wife Zinat met with members of the Islamic movement who lost their family members during the bloody clash between soldiers and Shiites in December 2015. The IMN leader, in a statement signed by the Vice President of IMN Media Forum, Abdullahi Usman, apologized for having to invite some of his members instead of visiting them in their houses to condole with them over the loss of their loved ones. He explained that due to the injuries they sustained during the military attack, they still carry bullet fragments in them, and there was no way they could meet up with all the victims and the survivors of the brutal military onslaught of December 2015 in their houses. Hundreds of Shiite members met with El-Zakzaki for the first time after he was discharged and acquitted by the High Court over allegations of culpable homicide by the Kaduna State government, pledged to rededicate to the tenets of Islam and IMN despite the ill treatment by government. Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa has advocated an amendment of the 1999 Constitution to guarantee the independence of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC. Governor Okowa made the call in Asaba, the Delta State capital, at the 2-day State Sensitization Forum on Review of Revenue Allocation. The governor said for the entire process to be successful and in the interest of the Federation, the Commission should be independent and present its recommendation before the National Assembly for approval rather than to the President. On his part, the Senate, the State Commissioner, Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Andrew Abanga, stressed the need for a portion of the country's revenue sharing formula, putting into consideration the fact that it has not been reviewed in 28 years.
We propose, no matter our good intentions, it appears to me that there is a challenge on the path of getting revenue formulas actually executed the way they ought to be because of some limitation in the Constitution. At the moment, the federal government is taking too much of the totality of the revenue of the Federation to an extent that the subnational governments, including the states and local governments, are actually shortchanged and do not have enough resources.
It's empowered to review from time to time the revenue allocation formula and principles in operation to ensure conformity with changing realities, provided that any formula which has been accepted by an act of the National Assembly shall remain in force for not less than 5 years from the date of commencement of the act.
As Nigerians join the rest of the world to celebrate this year's World Peace Day, the need for justice and equality across board has been stressed. A cross-section of speakers at an event organized to commemorate this year's event identified injustice as the brain behind most of the crises being witnessed today. Correspondent Kunojo reports that the Special Advisor to Governor Seyi Makinde on Community Relations, Josiah Olufemi, who spoke at the event, stressed the need for social justice for peace to reign in the land.
I'm preaching peace. We also advocate for the promotion of social justice, because there can't actually be peace in the absence of justice. And we use this opportunity to tell everybody in Oyo State and Nigeria at large that while we are pursuing peace, we should equally pursue justice, social justice, distributive justice, procedural justice, such that there will be fairness and equity.
A major thing we need in the world right now. If we get a little more concise, we'll see that in so many areas of the world, you have some major unrest going on there. We have that of Afghanistan, we have so many other places. So the United Nations believe that this particular day should be set aside to preach peace.
Other speakers emphasized the need for Nigerians to imbibe the spirit of brotherliness and refrain from acts that could set the country on fire. They called on government and other stakeholders to put in place machineries that will ensure social justice, peace and progress in the country.
We need peace. Without peace, there can be no development in our nation. There are a lot of problems here and there. So we need to start preaching peace for everybody. The advantage of having peace wherever you are. So that's the reason why we organize this program.
Well, peace is elusive in Nigeria. Everywhere is violence and rancor. It hasn't been like this. And certainly it will not continue like this.
It is now time for us to join our international desk for more news.
Welcome to International News. Sudan says it has thwarted an attempted military coup and arrested all those involved. A government spokesperson told state media the coup plotters were linked to the ousted president Omar al-Bashir, who was toppled 2 years ago. Earlier reports from the capital, Khartoum, and nearby Omdurman described intense military activity, and the main bridge across the River Nile was shut. The road to Khartoum and ports has also been blocked. The plotters had tried to take over a building housing the state media, Newsman reports. A government involving the military, civilian representatives and protest groups are in place was established as part of power-sharing agreement after President Bashir was ousted in 2019. Newsmen monitoring the country reports that several coup attempts have taken place in Sudan since then. There has been tension within the Sovereign Council, which is supposed to be overseeing a return to civilian rule, and Newsman adds that some attempts by the military to obstruct the transfer of power back to civilians. Correspondents say elements within the military are thought to be behind several days of protest in Port Sudan, in the east of the country. The Sudanese government says the situation in the country is now under control. According to Newsman, military spokesperson Mohammed Al-Faqih Suleiman says the interrogation of suspects will soon begin. Journalists in Khartoum says the government is blaming a group of officers disgruntled by Sudan's tough economic situation. An erupting volcano on La Palma in Spanish Canary Island has forced authorities to evacuate another village in the path of lava gushing towards the sea. The evacuation of El Paso was ordered after lava started spewing from a new crack in the Camero Vieja volcano. More than 6,000 people have fled from lava that has buried hundreds of homes since the eruption began on Sunday. 4 earthquakes hit the island shortly after the new eruption vent opened. Local officials said the lava could trigger a chemical reaction that causes explosions and release of toxic gases which it reaches the sea. Marine authorities have established an exclusion zone of 2 nautical miles, that's 3.7 kilometers, at the sea in the area where the lava is headed. This was done to prevent onlookers on boats and prevent the gases from affecting people, the president of the island council, Mariano Hernandez, said. Experts told local media the lava is expected to reach the sea at about 12 o'clock on Tuesday. Residents have been told to stay away from the area, which has been cordoned off by police. In the meantime, the lava continues to advance down the volcano's western flank, destroying everything in its path. As of Tuesday morning, the lava had covered 103 hectares, that's 1 square kilometer, and destroyed 166 houses, the European Union's Copernicus service estimated. A satellite image showed the lava's path down the mountain. Still on the international news, the third Russian faces charges over his alleged involvement in the 2018 Salisbury poisonings, which left 3 people critically ill and 1 dead. Security sources believe Denis Sergeyev was one of the on-ground commander in the Novichok attack on former double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia. Donstages died after the poisoning, and a police officer was badly injured. Police also confirmed that they believe the suspect in the case belonged to a Russian military intelligence team. Sergeyev is believed to have been the senior member of the team from Russia's GRU and has also been linked to other covert activity across Europe. The Crown Prosecution Service has now authorized charges, but the suspects cannot be formally charged unless they are arrested. Nick Price, head of Special Crime and Counter-Terrorism Division at the CPS, said there was sufficient evidence to provide a realistic prospect of conviction and that it was in the public interest to charge Sergeyev. Prosecutors were working with police to bring the attackers to justice where possible, but Russia has made it clear it does not extradite its citizens, he said. The third man, Denis Sergeyev, using the name Sergei Fedotov, had arrived at Heathrow Airport earlier that day at 1100 GMT. Police say they now have evidence the men were operating as a team and that all 3 met on a number of occasions in London over that weekend. On some occasions, this was indoors, on others, it was in the open air, although the police will not specify exactly where. The charges authorized against the 3 men are conspiracy to murder, attempted murder, causing grievous bodily harm, and use of possession of a chemical weapon. And finally, from the international scene, Indian anti-smuggling intelligence officials have seized nearly 3 tons of heroin, reportedly worth around $2.7 billion, that's 1.9 billion euros, in a major operation at a port in Gujarat state. Forensic testing is still underway to determine the exact value of the seized drugs, officials told newsmen. 2 people have been arrested and several others are being investigated, a statement said. The shipment originated in Afghanistan, where it was declared as talc stones. It was shipped to Gujarat Mundra port from Iran. The Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, DRI, said that it received intelligence that a shipment from the Bandar Abbas port in Iran was suspected to contain narcotics. It said the intelligence also revealed that the shipment was being imported by a company in the southern city of Vijayawada. When our officers detained the consignment and examined it, suspected narcotic drugs were recovered from the containers and the presence of heroin was confirmed, DRI said in a statement. Officials said searches have been conducted in multiple cities across India, including the national capital, Delhi, Ahmedabad, and Chennai. Investigations conducted so far have also revealed the involvement of Afghan nationals who are under investigation, the agency said. And that's it from the international scene at this time.
And now from our international news, we move over to entertainment news.
Welcome to entertainment news. Yemi Sholade and his beautiful wife Hannah are celebrating another wedding anniversary today, Tuesday, September 21, 2021. The actor on his Instagram page shared a loved-up photo and expressed how great their union has been over the years. He also noted that his wife, whom tagged his Jennifer Lopez, won his heart just as God already sealed it. Sholade also prayed for God's continuous intervention in their home. Meanwhile, update on Big Brother Naija on Monday introduced a twist to the reality show. Big Brother, addressing the housemates, cancelled nominations and head of house games instead of nomination process. The housemates are to participate in the ultimate vector power game. They will gather points, and the housemates with the highest point would have the ultimate vector power. The ultimate veto power holder has the power to choose the head of house for the week and also immunity from eviction. Big Brother promised to reveal details of the twist after the game. There are 9 housemates in the house for the next 2 weeks, battling to win the grand prize worth 90 million naira. Also, veteran Nollywood actress Peter Doche's son Uche has contracted COVID-19 and taken to social media to share scary experience. Uche Doche shared a lengthy post on his Instagram page where he recounted how he discovered he had the deadly virus and how it eventually took a toll on him. According to the younger Doche, when he initially fell sick, he thought it was malaria and began treating. However, by the time he realized it could have been something else, it was too late and 80% of his lungs were already damaged. Uche noted that he was on oxygen for days and could not eat or breathe. According to him, it was the first time in his life that he had no control over anything. However, Uche also complained that treating COVID-19 cost a fortune and he spent 350,000 per day at the hospital, making his total treatment cost over 6 million naira. He then urged the government to invest in affordable treatment or a number of people will lose their lives. Also, tragedy strikes as it's indeed a sad and trying times for the family of veteran Nigerian musician King Sunny Ade, who has just lost one of his wife, Risikat Ajoke Adegeye. The deceased, a former member of the Lagos State House of Assembly, passed away during the early hours of Tuesday, September 21, 2021. The report says that late Ajoke was also a former chairmanship aspirant under the platform of the All Progressive Congress in Amuodofin local government area. Ajoke's death comes just a day before King Sunny Ade is expected to clock 75. As expected, the news has been received with worry and concern on behalf of the musician. May the soul of the departed rest in peace. And finally, on entertainment news, you don't need to hear every note or lyrics perfectly to feel a song's power. For deaf people, there are many ways to experience the magic of music, through dancing or feeling the vibrations of the bass and treble through your skin, or tapping along to the rhythm the beats to create as they pass through your body. In celebration of the original Apple TV and film coder, this playlist is curated specifically for deaf people. Apple Music asks deaf contributors across the country about how they experience music and what it means to them, and of course compiled a few of their favorite songs and the reason why this resonates for them so deeply. Contributor says it put a smile on their faces and inspires them. Apple Music has already launched a first ever playlist for deaf people. And that'll be all on entertainment news.
And that's the size of a package on Galaxy Television News. Before we go, for more update and latest news, log on to our website www.galaxytvonline.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel www.youtube.com/Galaxy TV Nigeria. You can follow and interact with us on our Facebook page www.facebook.com/Galaxy TV. Don't forget to follow and tag us on our Instagram page at Official Galaxy TV. You can also avail our eyewitness feature via WhatsApp. If you have breaking news around you, simply share your story by sending short clips or videos of the news on 0818-6666-669. Our social media platforms are user-friendly and can always accommodate your live update and comments. And that's the news. Thanks for watching. I'm Solomon Offem. Bye-bye.